Hello, Stephanie Miller.
Don't you feel like they used to need to use that every 15 seconds on MSNBC now?
Every
time you
that
speak?
would be great. Yeah. Little lighthearted approach to the news, which is normally not lighthearted, but there's some stuff happening today, which is, as you say, interesting.
Where do we even start exactly?
Where do we even start? There's a 14-page response. There's a posting by Donald Trump, and I love the consistency that there's these random capital letters all the way through, so it looks like a hostage letter or a manifesto or a death threat. Even in an actual letter to Benny Thompson, the chairman of that January 6th committee, it's filled with these random capitalizations all through it, like just things he calls people.
Oh my God! Did you see what he was doing actually yesterday? As he was being subpoenaed, he was threatening legal action against the Pulitzer board because of Pulitzer's going to Washington Post and New York Times for the Trump-Russia reporting, which was completely accurate. Right, but do I need to do that one too?
Oh, yeah.
The fake news media covered it incorrectly, reporting exactly the opposite of what actually happened, yet the Pulitzer board has not rescinded the prizes they awarded. I feel like he's lost the thread of what the actual news is.
Right.
This is Trump-Russia. Okay. It was inaccurate, inept, and corrupt in order to restore the credibility of the Pulitzer Prize. The Pulitzer board should take away the prizes from all who got it wrong.
Wow. Wait till Dinesh D'Souza's documentary doesn't win an Oscar.
Wow. Allie, so obviously the speculation is he's going to make a lot of noise that he wants to testify, but he's incapable of telling the truth. The things he's already saying are just the same lies over and over again. Nancy Pelosi didn't call the National Guard and blah, blah, blah. So what do you think is going to happen with that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, but that's what we've learned about Donald Trump, right? What he says and what he does don't often match up. So he says he'll testify if it's live as opposed to the taping and doing it that way. I guess he's got some ability to manage the mix of pleading the fifth and obfuscating and not answering the question. And he probably thinks he's smarter and better than the members of Congress who would be able to pin him down. I think that's a high risk for him to take, and I think at some point, if he happens to manage keeping a lawyer for more than 96 hours, someone will tell him, "Don't play that game. That's really dangerous." And ultimately, I don't think he's going to want to testify. Now, whether he has a choice in the matter and how they deal with that, because that would have to be then referred to the Department of Justice, and once again, Merrick Garland would be faced with yet another choice. Do they put out an arrest warrant for Donald Trump, or do they cause him to testify? We're back into the whole mess again, because once it gets to the Attorney General, nobody knows.
Can I just say, can I speak for us out here in OJ land in LA? Yes, arrest him. We want a slow speed, golf cart chase, the whole thing. Yeah.
But it seems like he won't testify. He doesn't want to testify on tape for the same reason Tucker Carlson won't do tough interviews live. They want to be able to control the dynamic and filibuster out anything they don't want the people to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Allie.
That's exactly right. It'll be a filibuster.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, what was so disturbing, people keep picking out from yesterday, is him being angry about the last Supreme Court loss of his, where he's like, we didn't make enough calls, and being livid about it, that he just doesn't seem to get it. He really thinks that these documents are his, that this is his Supreme Court. I mean, it's...
Right. The entitlement of this is supposed to happen for me, and I'll give you these documents if you give me these documents. It's just a remarkable way of thinking. But what I do think the panel, the January 6th committee did yesterday, is they did what Liz Cheney's been talking about for a long time. They did establish the fact, it wasn't a secret to us, but I think for the public, or at least they started to, that this was Donald Trump's plan before the election.
Yeah.
You didn't have to really look hard to see that his plan was to say, I'm going to win this election regardless of who actually wins the election. But that it was underway the whole time. It was never without his support. He wasn't duped. It wasn't just the last person who had his ear. He was determined he was going to be the president of the United States the next time, regardless of what the outcome of the election was. And as he increasingly figured out that he might not win that election legitimately, he set the table for it. And I think that's almost more important to the preservation of democracy, to understand that, and for people to understand that this was a plot to destroy democracy. It wasn't a flailing effort to overturn the election after the election. I think it's a distinction that is important for people to understand.
Yeah. Well, we just had Glenn Kirshner on because this is basement MSNBC, basically.
Yes.
But, all of the legal experts are using the terms now beyond a reasonable doubt, whether it's the document espionage case or, I was thinking that was, with all the latest reporting, oh my God, we have it on tape. We have obstruction of justice. We have a witness. And then you listen to yesterday and you're like, oh my God, maybe that's the most, I'm not sure which one you think might go first in terms of indictments or what are you thinking? Because it's all pretty. Glenn Kirshner used the legal term premeditation. They proved premeditation yesterday. Well, what are you thinking?
We still end up with the same problem, though, Stephanie. Right? What do you do about it from a political justice perspective? Right? Justice says you pursue action against people who commit crimes, even if they are a sitting president. With certain exceptions based on the Office of Legal Counsel that don't seem to apply here, because he was sort of a one-man alleged crime wave at this point. It wasn't one thing here or there. It was a number of things. And then there is this very legitimate concern about how bad politics are in this country and how polarized people are, and all the talk about civil war and what actually comes of this, and the diminishment of the Department of Justice under Donald Trump and the attempted rehabilitation of it under Merrick Garland. So there's a lot of political, calculations at this level that worry a lot of people, because they say these are the kind of political considerations that have been made over centuries in America that have kept some people from obtaining justice, right? Yeah. Because we've always thought we're not going to do this, or we don't want to ruffle these feathers, or I know they committed a crime or a lynching or something, but they're upstanding members of society. There's all this stuff that reminds us that justice isn't in fact blind, because if justice were blind, you would know how this would turn out, right? There'd be handcuffs and a purpose.
Yeah, this is why the committee, I think, obviously would not let him testify live, because he would want to just spew all the same lies, knowing that, okay, then what are you going to do? Then that's perjury, but then you got to go after me for perjury, but he gets to spew all the lies in prime time, get great ratings, that's all he cares about. It's a TV show to him still, right?
Yes, but he is the definition of running out the clock. Right? Yeah. He knows how to do this. And the fact is, for those of us who are following this, there is a clock, and it can't be run out, right? This election itself, already, we missed any deadlines to do anything that will convince a whole lot of people about what to do about it for this election. But 2024, if Kari Lake wins in Arizona and others win in the Senate, then 2024 might be predetermined, despite who votes. So I do think there is a clock, and this has to be thought about.
Yeah, John.
I want to ask a political question about this, Allie. We know from the book This Will Not Stand by the New York Times authors that Mitch McConnell's plan on January 6th was let the Democrats take care of the SOB.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Republican establishment very happy about Donald Trump's problems, because a bad week for Donald Trump is a good week for Ron DeSantis. Is it worth paying attention to those politics? Because my take on the January 6th committee hearings, and I've loved them, but I see a lot of Republican witnesses testifying to Liz Cheney about how they're going to solve Mitch McConnell's Trump problem.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and look, I think Ron DeSantis is someone to keep a very close eye on. He manages to get out of his lane and sound more Trumpian than Trump sometimes, but he is a governor who's gotten some things done. He's probably an empirically smarter person than Donald Trump is, and part of the reason the January 6th, from the election to January 6th stuff didn't work is because it was being driven by a clown car filled with clown. Yeah. So, what everybody's learned in the last year and a half is how to not do it that way.
Sidebar, counselor. Gotten some things done, some evil things, just like.
But effective, right? That's the thing about governors, as opposed to people who've never been governors. They can claim victory for certain things. Some of them are evil, but they are actually things on a list that you can run.
Yeah, he got rid of the black congressman from Jacksonville. He used COVID funds to illegally move migrants around, and he pissed off all the Disney employees.
Evil stuff. Yes. Allie, I just on the Justice Is Coming front, you tweeted about Alex Jones, who now owes
$11 billion.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
But, you tweeted, I reached Sandy Hook just hours after the massacre 10 years ago and saw the anguish on the faces of the parents. Every one of them would rather have their children back than have Jones's money, but at least someone has been held accountable for putting them through misery twice. And, there he is laughing, and, they're going to see the money. There is no money. Well, that's not true. They really this does have teeth. He may not have $11 billion.
Yeah, he may not have.
They can garnish wages. They can go after. InfoWars
is worth $100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, whether the money can be recovered or how much of it can be recovered is an important issue. I think the goal is that Alex Jones will never be able to have make money again or do this sort of work. I was very saddened by his response. I would have thought at some point he'd be chastised and not think about this, what he put those parents through twice, or he made them go through misery a second time. But I use the word accountability and not justice, right? There's no justice. Justice would be if all those people who were dead were alive. That's not justice, but at least someone, and there has been some other accountability in that case as well, a suit against the gun manufacturers. But at least there is something. The system has said, you can't do this, Alex Jones. Yeah. Whether he will be squeezed of this money, it's a good question.
Will that affect Fox News? Will it affect people that just lie for a living?
Smartmatic will.
On the margins, it does, because the Dominion lawsuit has had an effect. It caused Lou Dobbs and Maria Bartiromo to read those awkward, disclaimers and have these segments with people who said there was no evidence that the voting machines were damaged. And I thought to myself at the time, maybe this is the answer. Maybe lawsuits are the answer to making some of these liars accountable. I don't think it's a quick fix.
Yeah.
But I think it could happen over time. And if the cost of lying is that high, people may think twice about it. They have the First Amendment rights if they want them, but you can't. If you do the wrong thing, someone may sue you for a lot of money.
And it may help us get back to the thing you and I talk about every week: is that are we ever going to have a common set of facts in this country again,
correct.
or are people just going to lie with impunity?
We keep talking about what can the government do to stop all this lying, and the judicial branch is like, "I'm right over here, guys."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As I think Rachel Maddow said this week, it shouldn't all fall on the DOJ. This is not the way our checks and balances work.
This was ingenious. What they did in Connecticut was, look, it took 10 years, and those parents still don't have their kids. But I do think that this felt like I was in tears when I heard that verdict. Or the various awards, which took a long time. I mean, had a pen and a paper trying to keep track of it. $965 million.
Yeah.
It's big and it's amazing and it's a message, and no matter what Alex Jones, he may have a couple things up his sleeve. He doesn't have $965 million worth of excuses and ways to get out of this.
John, you're from New York. You know Filene's basement, right?
Indeed, yes, very well.
Don't you like that? This is like MSNBC basement.
Look, I just
feel like a cut rate.
You want to know real justice?
Unless Ali Velshi's being blown up the coast by a hurricane, he is here.
I'm here.
He's very much here, but here's real justice, Ali. Alex Jones is only 48 years old. Keep that in mind.
Think about it.
Justice is playing out right on his face and body.
All right, freshly jingled Ali Velshi. We will send that along to MSNBC.
Yes.
You can be greeted like the royalty that you are. Bye.
I love it. Nice to see you, friends.
Thanks, Ali.
All right, there he goes.
Ow.